How should you handle criticism from your ex-wife? It's really common going through a divorce for an ex to be incredibly critical. She can say mean things, she can be cold, she can be distant, she can be downright cruel. In this video, I am going to give you a simple step-by-step system to change the way that you react to your wife's criticism and give you more control over the situation and how you feel in response to her criticism. I'm Rachael Sloan. I'm a relationship coach, and I specialize in helping men survive divorce. And that means surviving your ex's criticism. So in this video, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into why your ex is so critical. If you want to understand that piece, and it can be really helpful in moving through this, please watch this video. It's called "This is Why Your Ex is So Mean." And I get into all the nitty-gritty and the psychology behind the cruel and mean and critical things that she's saying. But in this video, I want to focus on what you can do about it. I see a lot of advice out there about criticism telling you to not take it personally, right? Because it's really that the other person is just reflecting their own self-criticism on you. But it's not that easy. You can't just not take it personally and not make it mean something about you. It's not like just a switch that you flip like that and the criticism doesn't hurt anymore. The only way to make it stop hurting is to get to the root of your own response to that criticism and get to know yourself on a little bit deeper level. I am not in this video going to tell you how to get your ex-wife to stop criticizing you, because I think at this stage in the game, you've realized that you can't control what she thinks, how she feels, or how she acts. So we are not going to waste our time trying to do that. Instead, we're going to focus on you. And that means that you have to take responsibility for your reaction to her criticism. And I don't mean blame yourself or feel guilty or tell yourself you deserve it. I just mean own the fact that your reaction isn't really about her or about the criticism. The way you respond to it is actually about you and your relationship with yourself. In order to fully take responsibility for your reaction and ultimately change it so that you don't suffer as much or respond as impulsively to her criticism, you have to look at 4 things about yourself. The first thing that you need to look at is how you're feeling. And I know this isn't an easy one for most of you guys out there, because men are really conditioned throughout their entire lives to be stoic, to be strong, to be tough, to not show emotion. But if you're going through a divorce, you've run into some pretty intense emotions already. So I'm going to ask you to stay present in your body and take a look inwards. When your ex is critical towards you, where do you feel that in your body? Do you feel it in your chest, in your stomach, your head, your throat, your limbs? Emotions are just the release of peptides in our bodies. They're a combination of response from our neurons and all of our cells. And those peptides flood our systems and create physical sensations: an accelerated heartbeat, a flushing red hot face, an upset stomach, pressure and tension between your eyebrows. They're physical sensations of emotion. I want you to know what yours are in response to your ex's criticism. Next, I want you to get incredibly specific about the trigger. What is it that sets off that emotion? This is the second thing. And you might just say, well, yeah, my ex is really critical. We need to be so much more specific than that. Is it a specific word that she uses or phrase that sets you off? Is it the tone of her voice? Is it her posture, her body language, her facial expression? What is it that tells you to feel that emotion? What is it that tells your body to react this way? It is a cue you're getting from her. We learn emotional responses to threat, to danger, which is what your ex's criticism is. It is a threat. And then our body stores these habits so that it can remember them in the future, so that it doesn't have to analyze a threat that it's already seen before. It just knows and it responds. What is the cue? What is the emotion that it triggers, the physical sensations in your body? The third thing that I want you to look at is, what does all of this tell you? What does it mean? What is this emotion? What are these physical sensations in your chest and your stomach? What do they tell you? They probably tell you something about her and or something about yourself. Maybe they tell you she's being a bitch. Maybe they tell you, wow, I'm a really bad person, or she thinks I'm a really bad person. Maybe they make you doubt yourself and question how you've behaved, how you've acted in the past. There's a lot of meanings that those emotions could bring up for you. Let's identify the meaning for you. All right, so we have 3 steps so far. First, how do you feel? Where is it in your body? Second, what told you to feel that way? What is the cue coming from your ex that makes that emotion active? Third, what does that emotion tell you? What does it mean? And then the fourth piece that you need to understand and look at is, how do you act in response to all of this? Because our behaviors and our actions are honestly usually not that conscious or intentional. They're mostly driven by our subconscious, by what we're feeling in our body and what we're making that mean, whether or not we're really aware of those patterns of emotion or thought. So how do you act in response to this criticism? The criticism is a cue that triggers an emotion in your body. That emotion tells you something, it makes a meaning for you, and then you act in response to that. I want you to get so curious about this cycle for yourself and look at this chain of reactivity that occurs in you, in your body, your heart, your mind, and your behavior in response to your ex's criticism. If you do this, and I would encourage you to sit down and write these things down, write down the trigger, the emotion, the meaning, and the actions, and then start to track that in your life. Look at the moments when you interact with her. Can you recognize that trigger and the moment that that emotion starts to come up? I think you'll find as you do this exercise that what you're afraid of isn't actually your ex's criticism, right? That's just the cue. That's just the trigger. What you don't like about it is all the rest of the stuff. You don't like the way it feels in your body. You don't like what you make that mean. And maybe you don't like the way you react. Maybe you get angry and lash out at her. Maybe you buffer with alcohol or marijuana, or maybe you play video games or gamble or shop too much or overeat. Ultimately, this is how you take back your personal responsibility, is by recognizing she's not actually the problem. She's just the cue that puts you into this whole cycle of thinking, feeling, and acting. And it's that cycle that's uncomfortable, and it's that cycle that you don't want anymore. Separating those two things, separating her criticism as a trigger from this habitual emotional cycle you're in, is the first step to starting to break that cycle. The more awareness you can bring into your life, the more you can track, oh yeah, there's that trigger. Oh, yep, here comes that emotion. The more it will start to loosen up, the more room there will be for an intentional change to the way you feel, the way you think, and the way you behave in response to her criticism. When you're aware of this, then you can take it a step further and start to question what you're making it mean. That's the next level where you can start to do some work and change the way you feel after she's critical. So this sounds like a lot of work. It is, right? It is. This is the inner work. This is the personal development work. But the beautiful thing about it is that it's possible. Yes, it's work, but it can make you feel so much better. Whereas trying to change your ex and the way she acts and the things she says, that's not possible. You cannot ultimately control that. And if you try to, it's going to create a lot of anxiety and frustration in your life. That's why I think it is always better to focus on what we can control, which is what happens in here and what happens in here, and the way we show up and act in the world. And the first step to doing that is tracking these cycles in yourself and taking responsibility for them. This is hard work, you guys, and I am here to help. If you would like help with this, reach out, book a free strategy session with me, and I'll explain how I can help you through one-on-one personalized coaching, where I will help you go in, track these cycles, access those emotions, and ultimately shift them so that you can feel confident and happy and peaceful and hopeful about the future. The link to that call is in the video description below. And you can also just go to calendly.com/RachelSloan/strategy. I hope this video was helpful. I'd love to hear how this works for you. So leave me a note in the comments. And if you could click the like button and subscribe to my channel, that really helps me out. Thanks for being here with me, and I will see you again very shortly.